Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Mr. Tier Lister. I'm here with Matthias. I mentioned him in the last show actually. We're gonna do an election day special. Pretty exciting.
Very nice. I'm happy to be here. It's a real pleasure. I'm a pretty big political junkie, and I think we're going to have some good things to say.
Yeah, Matthias is actually a political science student at McGill, so he's got all the insight. And we're gonna be talking about the possible outcomes of the election today, or probably more likely maybe tomorrow when it actually is
Probably
finalized.
like, probably like November 10th.
Yeah. I mean, before being realistic.
Yeah, this
So
month's
first
election.
up, we got Trump with little like something like this. He's happy. This is if Trump wins decisively. Now, from the polling and from what I've seen, it says doesn't seem likely. But I guess we gotta act like it's possible, right?
Yeah, I think the polls are not in his favor, but I also don't want to rule anything out because clearly polls are not always very accurate.
Yeah.
I think this would be bad if this happened. Not a very hot take, but I don't know. I'm almost tempted to say that would be a four more 2020s situation.
Yeah, I think the only thing I have to say is I think Trump winning close is worse because what I can imagine happening is Democrats like going out and rioting without masks and
Yeah.
looking like idiots, and then the Democrats just look like hypocrites. And I think
Yes,
it's
I
better.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a decisive Trump win creates less chaos in America than a tight Trump win does, but it's
Yeah.
still really bad. So maybe it's less bad than a tight one. Maybe it's a B. Maybe it's like B tier. I
Maybe it's a
also
B
think
tier. Yeah.
I also think that if Trump wins decisively and the Democrats accept it, Trump is less likely to enforce his like wrath on the Democratic Party for the next 4 years.
Yeah, he'll be like, oh, whatever, I won. It's fine.
He might be slightly more generous in his policy making.
Yeah, I think that's a B tier probably here. Next up we got if we was gonna do if next one Biden. If Biden wins decisively, this is probably looking like the one of the most likely outcomes. And I mean he's Sleepy Joe, but I mean I think that it's the more important part is that you got a better party. I mean at least in
Yeah,
Canadians' opinions, which will
yeah,
be better going forward.
yeah. We love to support the Democrats, who are essentially the Canadian Conservative Party. Uh,
Yeah.
but I think Sleepy Joe. He's old. He's been in politics for too long to not be a little bit cynical, probably. And there are many things that make him unappealing to the younger voters like ourselves. But I think he's also a decent man, and I think he sees himself as a one-term president if he wins, and he could be that bridge that takes us to a better future with more progressive candidates. So I think that's probably the most great again option there is. I think there's much lower odds of Trump bringing it into the courts or riots if Biden wins handily also, which would be just super nice for everyone to not have riots.
Yeah, I think that if he wins decisively, Trump probably will see that and be like,
Yeah.
yeah, like this is it's so obvious that even with all like the voter fraud that's happening, it's still
Yeah.
like a totally he won by that much.
You
Uh
can only use voter fraud as an excuse for so many percentage points, you know?
exactly. I think if Biden that's my imitation of Biden, if you've ever seen
Okay.
him
Okay. Yeah,
there you
that's
go.
how he talks. Yeah.
That's how he talks. Yeah, I think people make fun of him for like stuttering and stuff, but it's like he's like 80 or he's almost 80, isn't he? He's like
He is almost
76 or
80.
78. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like
He's 77, I believe, right now. He will
yeah.
be. I mean, either one who wins will be the oldest will be the oldest president ever.
Yeah.
Like in terms of age of being sworn in.
Like
So
pres-elect.
yeah, either one will be the oldest pres-elect ever. Which I mean is probably why every time they speak, it's incoherent and horrible.
Yeah.
Because anyone who's ever talked to anyone that old, even their loving grandparents, sometimes things are incoherent, and that's just the
Yes,
way
it's
she
it's the way
goes.
it's the way it goes. Like when you get
Yeah,
older, you kind of return to being like a baby a little bit.
yeah, I would say so. But again,
But
he is a nice man, and I think he knows that he's not there for the long haul. So
Yeah, I think this is America great again. I think that
yeah,
he just, bridges us to a better, more like multicultural, more loving America that we all, I mean, especially us as their North friend, we would like to see.
we would like to see that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we got if Trump wins a close one. Now, I think this is bad, really bad, because I think that the Republicans and Trump are saying, if Biden wins close, we're gonna like not accept it, we're gonna riot. But I think that if Trump wins close, the Democrats might not be as militant and aggressive, but I guarantee there's gonna be a bad look for the Democrats in that way.
Yes, I think this is the second worst option. The worst has not been discussed yet. I think this is the second worst option, and I think it's going to be, if this happens, it's not going to be pretty. Um, I mean, I don't think I agree that the Democrats will not be militant about it. I don't think there will be any violence per se, but I think there will be a protracted um, campaign about potential meddling and voter suppression and a lot of other stuff like that that's going to be incredibly unpleasant. And I
Yeah.
think in some cities there will be probably some protests. I don't think there will be riots per se, but protests and really obnoxious long-term Democratic Party complaining will both be rife, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it could be one of those things that from years to come, we have like the Republicans
People think
saying,
back like, look what the
yeah,
Democrats did in 2020. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I think that Trump winning decisively is better because then the Democrats are smart enough. I mean, any to realize like, there's no reason to complain, like it's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's when you have to turn as an American, like a left-wing American, and think, what country am I in? Like, really, am I in a
Yeah.
country that's going to elect Donald Trump, decisively after those 4 years, the 4 years we've had? Like, that's be shocking.
Yeah. I would say that a Trump close win is either the is probably a four more 2020s. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's not good. Next up, we got if Biden wins a close one. Depending on how close it is, it varies. Very close. This is probably going to be the worst outcomes ever in the history of
Yeah.
the United States.
Yeah.
In terms of if he actually ends up squeaking through all the Trump stuff and like ruling for the next 4 years, it probably is okay. But I can imagine like another 6 months or a year of just like back and forth courts, like craziness. I can imagine some pretty bad outcomes with this one.
Yeah. I think there's a really bad. I think this would make for a really bad like 2 months to 6 months, and then but I think we can't really call it four more 2020. At some point, Trump will have to lose in those courts, and it might be in a long time, but at some point, it's going to happen. So I think we, I guess for me, it's like a tight Biden win would lead to the most stressful and like terrible half year, but then it would also make for a good future. So just because of that, I struggle with putting it below the Trump close win. I think
Yeah.
it's better than that option, but I think it's
My,
not. I think it could be like a low B.
yeah, I can see that because I guess eventually it probably would. Like, I don't think Trump would win. It would be like complaining you know, back and forth,
Yeah. And
and
yeah,
then eventually they drag him out by his feet from the White House, and you're fine then.
yeah. I read something today this morning about how um if Biden declares victory or Biden has a projected victory by the sort of mainstream media, and based on everything that's coming in with it after like 3 days of this election, then I think he's gonna declare victory and like start putting things in place to come into power in January,
Yeah,
regardless of what Trump does. So I think his plan is to kind of come off as the Democratic, I mean, no pun intended, but like Democratic and kind of calm and like reasonable option. So people even might turn off of Trump even after voting for him if Trump brings out this long legal battle, whereas Biden sort of quietly moves into governance mode.
yeah, which he rightfully has earned, right? Like that's for the
It
people.
should be able to. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I think we're looking at a low B tier here.
I think
Probably,
we're looking at a low B tier. It wouldn't be great, but it'd be okay.
yeah, it might work.
Well, I'm almost tempted. I don't know. It kind of hurts my heart to say that I want it below the Trump decisive win. I think as a Canadian, a Biden close win is better for us than a Trump decisive win.
I think the part about the Trump decisive is that it could like have ramifications for the next like 10, 20 years. Like I think that if Democrats are seen
Yes.
as no better than just like what we think as Republicans sometimes, then that could make like
Yeah.
pretty bad for
Yeah.
the Democrats' social or
And
political image.
there are so many more judges that he can put in if Trump wins. Like I think I mean, this is just my opinion, and like there's a big like caveat that like we are coming from a Canadian perspective, so like the drawn out nature of the next 6 months doesn't matter as much for us.
Yeah,
Um, but I think tight Biden win is still better than the Trump decisive win.
fair enough. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's like
Okay,
the higher B.
I can't. I don't even do. There we go. I think if we have many more like ACB cult lords,
Yeah,
indoctrinators, then I'd be a
that's
bit, and
bad.
a bit in
And
trouble. Yeah.
a Trump decisive win suggests a Republican Senate win also, and then it's just like wham bam, thank you ma'am, just like constant court appointments that just screw the next 40 years. So
Yeah, that's probably true.
yeah,
Next up, we got this is if Trump wins, but like I put this because they're both pretty old, and Trump also like who knows what could happen with him. So this is if Trump wins, but like in the first 2 years or even right away, Pence takes over. Personally, I mean, I'd rather have like a psychopath, weird Cheeto than massive C Catholic. Like Roe v. Wade, gone. Gay
it's true.
rights, gone. Condoms, gone. Like it's over. It's
Yeah,
over with Mr. Pence.
yeah. I would agree that the idea of Pence being the president, frightens me immensely, and every I have enough friends who are American women that I care a lot about how Pence does, because like him being president would really fuck up a lot of my friends. Sorry, would really mess up a lot of my friends. You can edit that part out if you would
Yeah.
like. Can literally bleep out a lot of my friends, but yeah. Um, I just that would be so bad. It would be so because they would go from having a sort of useless in terms of negotiations president who has terrible ideas but can't actually get anything really that important through because he's just kind of dumb, to someone who actually knows politics and understands how to get things done,
hmm
and who has arguably as bad views or worse views than Donald Trump. So that'd be really bad. I think that's like the worst one. I would put
Yeah, me
that
too.
below a close Trump win.
Yeah, me too. But I think that Trump in the 90s and before that, he was a Democrat. So he like has had patches in his life that he was Democrat and he kind of is a bit more like towards the Democrat. But Pence, I'm sure when he came out, like popped out, 1 day old, he was already
Oh yeah,
repping the Republicans, you know?
he was like deep red GOP from the moment he came out of the womb. Like
Yeah, he was
no
probably
doubt.
in utero, he was
Yeah.
Republican.
Oh yeah. In utero he was restricting voting rights for minorities. So like
And like who cares if Trump says silly stuff, and there was the one like state where he overturned like abortion, but like Pence literally it would be 4 years of him like just please like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and eventually it would stick. And especially if they appointed more like conservative judges in the Supreme Court, like goodbye, it's over,
yeah,
good luck getting
yeah.
an abortion, you're done.
Yeah, and I just, you know what? Like I just abortion seems like such an important right, and and so much of America supports it, and it's such like so many of the issues that the Republicans are running on are actually issues that are not popular with the the majority of Americans, and I think Pence would do everything in his power to make those the law. So, but
The
yeah,
law
I
of the
think
land.
the worst possible option.
Yeah.
Bad vibes.
Bad vibes. Next up, we got Kamala. I'm pretty sure this is the like condescending stare she gave Amy Coney Barrett during the when she was asking her questions.
That is
Oh no no
perhaps
no no!
true.
When she
No, that
gave
was
Pence
like
Pence. Yeah yeah
Pence debate. Whenever she
yeah
looked at the camera and laughed at him, that
yeah
was fun.
yeah. That's the look she's giving. But this is if probably the most likely. I mean, maybe Biden dies and then
Maybe.
Kamala takes over,
This one is
especially if
more likely than the Pence one, for sure.
probably, yeah, yeah. Because he's in very good health. I'm in perfect health. I'm a
He is
very
in
healthy individual. I'm in
exceptional
the
health.
best health, the best. It's the very best. This is Kamala. Yeah, she takes over. She's probably progressive. You know, she's a minority. Um, you know,
She is a
she's
cop.
yeah,
She is a bit of a cab situation, but you know, that's just the way she goes. I mean, she's
yeah.
better than many. Yeah. I think like
I think
anyone
the
in the
problem with this
yeah.
one, if she took over, she definitely run a second term, and I think we probably have better options than her going
Yeah.
forward,
Yeah.
which is a bit of a
Yeah.
downside.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, you know, like every um like kind of slightly progressive, but like every kind of establishment Democrat, there are things about her that aren't very appealing to a lot of people in our generation, and like that's kind of just to be expected. But I think she has more pros than anyone else on this board, and I think she's more intelligent than anyone else on this board. And I think she's probably a better policymaker than anyone else on this board. So, you know, and I think I agree with more of her stances than anyone else on this board. So, really, this would be, I think, really good for the next from whenever she took over until the next election. But I do agree with your point that there are better options than her who may not be available if she wins.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it's kind of you take and you give, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think that, I mean, I hate to bring this up, but I think it's part of the reason that Hillary lost. You know, U.S. has never had a woman, and there seems to be some people in the States that have a problem with that. Like, I think that if Hillary was a man, but the equivalent, that she would have won. So I think that Kamala, like being vice, yeah, great. Like, it's not that much of a hurdle. But I think that if she tried to like run for re-election, it would be an issue. Like, I'm not like a outspoken one, but in the like implicit bias.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think also Trump has really done quite an impressive job of sowing the like Kamala's a commie mindset among a lot of Americans, which
Yeah,
is like aggressively untrue. But you know, most things that he says are. And
yeah,
I think if Joe Biden was incapacitated in whatever way and Kamala became president, I think it would be probably depending on how the like Trumpism fervor was at that
hmm
point in America. Like say Biden wins narrowly, Trump takes it to the courts, Biden is um, brought into the White House in January, and then he becomes incapacitated in like March,
yeah,
while Donald Trump is still doing court stuff. Then the Republicans can all scream bloody like murder because their worst nightmare, a black woman who they see as a communist, is suddenly in power,
hmm
and they'll be
hmm
like, this was the Dems' plan all along, which would be bad, not very fun. I just want to give a quick shout out. You know, we also in Canada, we're also not morally that superior. You know, we've also only had a woman once, and it was in very specific circumstances.
Kim
Uh,
Campbell. It was like a few months, wasn't it? Like a
yeah,
summer.
it was like a few months because of other things happening. So you know, it would be actually quite similar to the Kamala situation, maybe.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to drop a little bit of Canadian politics history in
History.
there.
So for the last one, here's wrapping up. Where you put that, like A tier or
I think it's A tier. Yeah, I think it fills up the board nicely,
mhm.
and B, I do think it's somewhere in between a strong Biden win and a tight Biden win.
Yeah,
I think it's probably A, closer to America Great Again tier, but
it's not
I
there.
think A is probably reasonable.
All right. Thank you for coming on, guys. Like, subscribe, comment. I'm gonna try to like learn a little more about editing. I'm gonna come up with some good new videos. Get some different people on. So if you want to come on, let me know. And
Thank you
oh,
so much
last
for having
thing,
me. Oh,
you're welcome. Last thing, if Trump wins, I will make a smoothie with the top 5 comments, and I will
oh my
drink it,
gosh.
whatever it is. Yeah,
Good luck.
mark
Godspeed
my
to you.
words.
Godspeed
All
to
right.
America.